We've got Ajay Agarwal, the Group CFO and President Finance and Strategy at Minda Corp, joining in on the show right now. Ajay, good to have you today on ET Now. Tell me how much business, firstly, comes from EVs for Minda, and is the Delhi EV policy a big driver for you now?
Thank you so much for having us on your channel. Uh, from a Minda Corporation perspective, today EV, not only for two-wheeler, three-wheeler, commercial vehicle, and four-wheeler, across the segment, close to about 10% revenue comes from EV. Alongside of Minda Corporation, we have a associate company by the name Flash. For Flash Electronics, we get close to about 24% of our revenue from EV. Speaking about Delhi EV policy 26-2030, obviously this is a step in the right direction, and the document talks about why the EV policy is the need of the hour, its purpose, its vision, and so on and so forth. I think it is a policy in the right direction. The city needed it. I'm happy and glad that the government has come out with a long-term strategy, not only a policy for a 1 year or 2 year. It clearly gives us a long-term direction, how the EV policy will evolve and what is the electrification strategy for the government.
And if you can give us some, perspective, what was the original guidance for growth in EV, and would you likely now increase that given there is a growth trigger there in place?
Well, from a Minda Corporation perspective, thankfully, our products and processes are by and large, it's agnostic with engines, whether it is ICE, hybrid, or EV. So 95% of our products are engine agnostic. So therefore, it do not necessarily need to have a long-term strategy from an electrification standpoint. Having said that, the group has been focusing on how do we penetrate and how do we increase our growth from an EV perspective, because that's the future, not only for the country, but for the globe. If you look at very recently, we have announced a joint venture with a UK-based company called Turntide. It focuses on EV, particularly from two-wheeler and three-wheeler and low commercial vehicle. So from that perspective, great that we signed the joint venture just 3-5 months back, and we are in a full production. We are putting up the factory as we speak, and we are hoping that by post Diwali, our production will be in full capacity from this joint venture. And nonetheless, like I said, Flash Electronics revenue comes about 23-24% from EV, and their penetration and focus is significantly higher insofar as EV products are concerned.
Right. And what's your overall revenue mix and guidance that you've given for FY27?
Well, last year we closed at about 6,500 crore with a growth of about 22-23%, and EBITDA a tad lower than 12%. If I include the Flash, then our revenue was close to about 8,000 odd crores with a mixed EBITDA of about 14-14.5%. Now, we don't necessarily give year-on-year guidance. However, we have come out with a Vision 2030, what we are looking at, how the company is going to grow from here on. From 2030 guidance perspective, we have our stated objective is to achieve a revenue of about 17,500 crore with a EBITDA contribution of about 12.5 crores. And it will come, there are 3-4 pillars which we have identified. Export is one. Clearly, premiumization, which includes electrification of the country from an automobile perspective, that's another contributor. There are certain other pillars which we have identified which will contribute to this growth.
And with Delhi mandating all electric two-wheelers and three-wheeler registrations, are you seeing increased order inflows from two-wheeler, three-wheeler OEMs as they probably front-load EV production ahead of 2028 deadline?
And that, I think that's the intention, and I don't see any reason why acceleration should not happen whether it is two-wheeler, whether it is three-wheeler, whether it is four-wheeler, low commercial vehicle, and so on and so forth. I think the incentive, the benefit which has been extended or proposed to be extended, it's quite lucrative. You look at from a two-wheeler perspective, you get 10,000 rupees. Scrapping policies also has come out. From a purchase of two-wheeler perspective, you get 10,000 rupees per kilowatt, maximum about 30,000 rupees. In year two, that amount marginally goes down to 20,000, and then thereafter it is 10,000. Similarly, for three-wheeler, it ranges from 50,000 to 30,000 over 3-year period. And likewise for commercial vehicle. And when you look at this policy, it does not necessarily speak about only how do you pass on the benefit. It has addressed all pillars of EV policy. It's a holistic policy, whether it is tax incentive, extending to the consumers. How are they going to, motivate people to buy a two-wheeler, three-wheeler from a EV standpoint? If there are no charging infrastructure, have they provided for that? Absolutely. They have come out with those as well. They have identified what the role of the OEMs and automobile companies should be. They have also provided. They are talking about total ecosystem development, focusing on battery recycling, waste management, creation of battery collection centers, promoting battery traceability, and how do we reuse those. So, if you look at from an overall perspective, it talks about a long-term strategy for the government. What are they thinking about the EV, and how do you address each and every pillar which will impact the adoption?
Right. And with 32,000 charging points planned, does Minda see a play in the EV charging components business as well? Chargers, PDUs, beyond just vehicle side wiring?
We do have that, and we are, targeting that market quite significantly. In fact, the 17,500 crore target which I talked about, a great portion comes from that business as well.
And do you expect other states to follow Delhi's mandatory EV roadmap? And how does that shape your capacity planning across plants?
Well, there is no reason why other state governments should not follow, particularly the governments which are, under BJP government. I believe that it is a policy which is forward-looking. It is good for the environment, good for the country, and I believe most of the state must adopt it, irrespective of which political party the state is being governed.
Right. And could an accelerated ICE to EV shift in two-wheeler hurt your traditional low-voltage wiring harness volumes faster perhaps than premium EV wiring can offset?
Well, I think, we have seen the adoption of EVs in the recent past, and the curve was quite steep, both from a two-wheeler, three-wheeler commercial vehicle as well as from a passenger vehicle perspective. So we have already, took detour in terms of how do we move our business from traditional wiring harness business to a high voltage wiring harness business. As we speak, we have already got a couple of SOPs from four-wheeler, three-wheeler, two-wheeler, as well as commercial vehicle to act on that. And we have our product ready, and we will hit the market quite soon.
Okay, thank you so much, Ajay. Quite bullish in terms of the commentary coming through, Aisha, with regard to both as a result of the Delhi EV policy, but even otherwise sounding bullish. That's the management of Minda Corp.